Hello people, how are you? All good? Bodies falling to the sinister god in a military base, while a child walks through all the chaos. But he could not care less about all the chaos he has just caused, and instead he is only interested in finding a woman named Asaka, to which he has been looking. A door opens and that same Asaka seems to be being pointed by a woman of whom we know nothing. Asaka is surprised to see that Yogai has managed to enter the base where she was captive. But the one who holds her back threatens to kill her if Yogai gets closer one more step. While pointing the gun at Asaka's cheek, Yogai stares at her for a while, and soon after, she falls dead. Asaka has no idea what Yogai has done, but once again she doesn't care what just happened, and she's just happy to have Asaka back. We pass a plan in which Yogai is awakened by a different girl he doesn't know. This girl is called Danura, and he asks her why she is so scared. But she is more surprised that he has been able to stay asleep during the huge incident that happened to them, since there are corpses on the floor of the bus and she has no idea what they are going to do. Outside the bus, they notice that a tail moves, so Yogai throws a microphone and makes a weaver who is outside the bus retort in pain. Danura, in this situation, is sure that they are going to die here, since there is nothing they can do against a beast as powerful as that. But because of the tension of the moment, he squeezes his chest against Yogai, and that gets him to worry enough to say something and make the dragon fall dead in front of them. Danura is confused and does not understand what just happened, so Yogai takes out a video game and tells him to calm down so they can talk. But she gets angry because he thinks now is a good time to play. She asks him if he doesn't want to get out of the bus, but he doesn't see reasons to be in a hurry, since there is no guarantee that the outside is going to be safe for them. She understands his point of view, but tells him to leave that game and take the situation seriously for now. Yogai agrees and asks him to report what happened to get to the situation in which they are right now. Then Danura explains that they were on the bus like any other day of excursion, but when they crossed a tunnel, they found themselves in a sunny meadow. At first it was a pleasant surprise but confusing, but then someone got on the bus and introduced himself as the sage. She seemed quite nice at first, but when the teacher asks her the reasonable question of what is happening, they rip her head off without hesitation. She tells everyone that she has no intention of hurting anyone directly, but if they make her angry, that they fuck each other and that they will find out. She tries to make a joke, but the truth is that it is not funny. She explains to the rest of the students that they have been educated here so that they become wise. Oh, why didn't I tell you? But this world is ruled by wise men, but from time to time it is necessary to replace the number of wise men, so they were summoned here. She raises her hands and makes most of the students start to shine while they install in their bodies a system called Vatalzan. This comes with a window of state, but Danura did not receive one, so she is not sure how it is. The wise woman continues to say that she has been given what in this world is called gifts of the world, so they will have to use those gifts well to become wise in the near future. Also, they only have a month to become wise, otherwise they die. And so drastically it is heard and everything. Danura raises her hand and asks what happened, because she has not touched one of those gifts, but the wise woman limits herself to saying that there are times that people are not suitable to receive the magical gifts. So in other words, bad luck for poor Danura, since she is screwed, and this is because without a gift she is condemned to become nothing more and nothing less than a cattle in this world. Of the world. So with this out of the way, she tells everyone that their first search will begin soon where a dragon will be attacking them, so they should try their best not to die. Danura's friend looks at the screen in her menu and sees information about the dragon that will attack them soon, but Danura still does not believe that she will be attacked by a real dragon. A member of his class calls the attention of others and asks them to work together to be able to overcome the mission, and for this they will need to know what they are working with, so he asks them to reveal the gifts they have been given. The class accepts his requests and notes his skills to formulate a plan, but Danura, who has no skill, cannot participate, obviously. However, it was not the only one who did not get a skill, since the other three the same thing happened to them, and these are Ayaka Shinozaki, Yuakiru Kiryu, and also there is Yogai, who managed to sleep during the whole commotion without being bothered. A little later, the rest of the classmates who were sharing their list of skills, they start to leave without saying a word to any of the ones behind who did not receive one. Then Danura tries to wake up Yogai, so that they can continue. The rest of the class are normal people. Shinozaki asks the super gifted to protect those who don't have gifts, since they have the power to do it, literally. But the boy thinks that he would only become a burden for the class if he had to protect such weak people all the time they were trying to become wise. Therefore, he came up with a clever plan, since they are going to get rid of all of them here and use them as bait. All of the class agree to do this to them, so there is no one to ask for help, basically. Another of his classmates uses his ability to cast charm on the powerless classmates. The rest of the class abandons them to their fate, and they have no idea of what they are going to do, but things only get worse for them when the dragon arrives and the slaughter begins. And that takes us to where we are right now. And although someone was sleeping pleasantly in the back of the bus while his companions were massacred, Yogai now understands the gravity of his situation, since he is in another world. So how is it supposed to load his video game without any plug available? Apart from that, if what they learned in the super gifted class is true, the most likely thing is that there is only one dragon in the area, so there should be no danger of leaving now, since the dragon is dead. Before leaving, Denobra asks Yogai if he did something to the dragon, to which he tells her that he told her to die and she died. That easy. She obviously doesn't believe him, but that's really what he did. So he gets off the bus and they have 3 options of places they can go after this. A hill, the city, or the forest. But it's probably not a good idea to go to an unknown forest without being prepared. Before making a decision, Denura realizes that something is flying at them. Yogai asks if it's another dragon, but this time it's 3 of her classmates. Kiyashida, Fukuhara, and Hanakawa. She is surprised to see them fly. So Yogai asks if she should sue them with Diacito. Just in case, Tenura prevents her, since at least they should listen to them before suing them with Diacito. However, Yogai points out that leaving them behind to be killed is not something a good person would do, as she did in her class. Denora still doesn't want to have to kill anyone, but even if she doesn't hold a grudge against them, they can still be hostile to them for no reason. The 3 students with Donetsk are surprised to see that the dragon is dead, and also Denora is still alive, since this group is going to say the plan they had, since their plan was to use their powers to turn Denora's body into a zombie and, well, do things really turbulous, and all this is said in front of Danura, which now realizes that Yagri was right when he said that they weren't good people. That suddenly Danura is much less opposed to killing them. Hayashida throws a super momerish fireball which is broken enough to melt the bus and destroy a mountain behind them, and he did all this to show the difference of power between them, and force Danura to give up and become his toy. Hidashida says that he decided that in this world he would do everything he wanted, and the first thing on the list is make delicious Danura along with the other 2 guys who say they have been dreaming of this for a long time. Very sick the truth. Danura is scared to think about what they would do to him, but Yogai tells them to calm down while he puts them in a situation in which they can have a more civilized discussion. Then he points to Higashida and tells him to die. The others start laughing thinking that Yogai is being funny, but to his surprise, he falls to the ground and dies. They don't understand what happened, but Yogai told him to die and he did. And well, there is not much to explain, so Yogai tells them not to move. But the other one is on his knees to help his friend, and as a result, Yogai tells him to die too. Hanakawa is now the only one left, and Yogai reiterates that if he moves he will die. Yogai now begins to explain his ability, but first he orders Hanakawa to prove that those guys are really dead, so he goes to them and begins to try to heal them. His healing ability allows him to help anyone recover from their wounds no matter how serious they are, but his powers are useless in this case, because the people they are trying to cure are already dead. Hanakawa starts telling Yodori that he has gone too far with this, but this is very ironic because they were the ones who came in here trying to kidnap Denura. But well, now we are going with Yodori's ability, since her ability is the instant death of any target, so if she just thinks about wanting to kill someone, she will die immediately, without exception. This is really broken. I mean, even the Dana didn't dare to do so much. Hanakawa can't believe what he's hearing, because that power is too OP. But he tries to hide and get closer to make a surprise attack. However, Yaguri stops him before he can make an attack, and he informs him that he also has the ability to determine if there is any murderous intention directed at him. Even more broken. So when the 2 skills combine, literally anyone who has the intention of killing Yogai can die just because he thought of hurting her. How crazy, right? Hanakawa collapses, realizing that there is no way he can beat Yogai. But he asks him why he became so angry after just receiving his gift. So Hanakawa explains that it is not the first time they come to this world. Oh, because I did not tell you. But a while ago, the mages of the Kingdom of Amon summoned them to defeat the Lord of the Demons, but the essential is that they lived adventures in this world for about a fucking year, and once they finally defeated the Lord of the Demons they were returned to Earth, and it seems that they will not remember that those 3 disappeared for a whole year. According to Hanakawa, after they were returned to Earth, they discovered that only a few hours had passed since they were initially summoned, although for them in this world a year had passed, so Yogai interprets that there is a way for them to return to Earth. And in that Yogai raises his hand to end Hanakawa and avoid future problems with him. But he begs Yogai to spare his life, even trying to get Nura to help him in this. but after what he told her when he first arrived here, she is the last person he would like to do him a favor. In the last resource, Hanakawa pulls out a strange slave necklace, which makes the bearer unable to disobey the orders of the first person he sees. So he puts on the necklace and is now tied to the will of Danura, but she does not want to have to deal with him, so she gives him the task of being his master to Yogai. As Hanakawa can no longer disobey his orders, Yogai decides to leave him alive for a while, but tells him to go to the forest full of magical beasts and wait. He also tells her to leave behind any valuable object she has, so Hanakawa is forced to get rid of all the loot from his last summon. Danura tells her that maybe she's being too hard on him by taking all his things away and making him wait in a deadly forest, but they are not friends and it is not known when she could do it. Danura asks her then why she is still with her, since she could also betray him at some point. But if that happens, it happens and that's it. And that seems good to Yogai, since he was the one who chose to trust her. Danuro smiles a little and asks her why he is trying so hard to protect her, even though they had never seen each other before. But he doesn't really know, and if he had to think of a reason, it would probably be for his chest. She gets red with shame and yells that he only loves her for her body. On the other hand, the wizard is in bed in a cramped position when someone called Yuichi comes in to give him a report on the students he summoned, since they would have passed the first mission, but there were 4 mortal victims in the process. The wizard assumes that the deaths were due to the students who could not receive powers, but although 2 of them died, there were also 2 others with rank powers who died in the process. This is a big surprise, especially because they died without prior notice, but the savior does not think it is something to worry about, so he tells Yuichi to fix them as best he can. Yogai and Danura finally arrive at the city gates after several hours of travel, but they see that the guards close the doors when they approach. But Yogai was expecting this, since it is getting late, so they rush to call his attention before the doors are closed at night. Danura goes to one of the guards, but they don't understand anything he said. The 2 are taken and wait under a tent while the guards go to look for their boss to take care of the situation. And after a few moments, Masahiko arrives, who is upset that he has to keep working until so late. And this one understands Japanese for the relief of Danura, and already seems to have an idea of what is happening here. The rest of his companions passed through the city that same day, so he has already taken care of them. Normally they would charge him a toll to enter the city, but he received clear threats, that is, instructions from the wise woman not to get in the way of the candidates to wise, so today he will not charge them. Yogai asks about the other candidates to wise who mentioned that they were going to pass and remembers that they had mentioned something about going to the capital, so he asks in what direction the capital would be, but as Nazuhito cannot get in his way, there is no incentive to help them. So Yogai gets up to leave. However, she takes a look at Danura's chest, and says that she wouldn't mind if Danura stayed in her mansion to spend the night, but only Danura. She doesn't seem so interested that we say, and grabs Yogai hand to leave with a disgusted face, and maybe he didn't like the guy, but the reason why he took Yogai so fast was because she was afraid that Yogai would send the guy to heaven for what he had said. Yogai didn't know why she thinks he's the kind of person who would do something like that. Moving on to another topic, they talk about how incredible the city is. It even has people who look like beast people, and speaking of beast people, a cat girl named Mario approaches them, who realizes that it is her first time in the city. She asks them if they are in a hurry and if they need some kind of help from her, because if so, she is there to help them in whatever. Don't you think this is curious? Like Jorge. But well, they don't trust people that fast. And now why? Because she seems too friendly to be someone they just met, so Yogai obviously asks her what she's gained by helping them. She doesn't even try to hide it, and says that she just wants to get along with all the wise candidates because everyone is bad and they die of thirst, and like Chikagato, if the wise candidates have success in the future she can get a 10 in seduction and live the easy life from then on. Danura doesn't agree, but at least she respects the honesty of the kitten. The kitten continues to tell Danura that she doesn't need to worry, because she won't try to seduce anyone that she has a girlfriend, since she knows very well what the Yandere are willing to do to keep her man, so she won't take a chance. Apart from her seductive intentions, they don't see anything else suspicious in the kitten, and Danura wanted to take a look around the city anyway before it gets too dark, so they decide to accept the help of the kitten, since it is the worst that could happen. It's not like it was a trap or something. Or is it? Really, yes, this was a trap, since the two end up surrounded by a group of thieves after spending the whole afternoon shopping in the city. Yogai tries to calm the situation by asking if they accept money to leave him alone. The thieves accept that the money would be fucking great, but what they really are looking for are wise candidates without talent like Yogai and Danura, since whenever the wise one goes and summons a group of wise candidates, those who have good gifts usually end up going crazy with their power. And the thieves have had enough of all the fights that take place in their courtyards, since this lowers the value of their properties. However, they are very weak compared to the donors of gifts, so it's not like they can complain. So what they do is that they go for the weak candidates to wise, to feel better. Because of this they plan to kill Yogai, and then abuse the poor Danura. But now that Yogai has clear intentions of these type, it seems that he is going to send them with God. Danura tries to get the kitten to cancel all this, because if not, definitely someone is going to go to heaven, and it will not be Yogai, obviously, because he's so broken. She thinks that he's just being a dick, because there's no way that someone without a gift can be so powerful in this world. Watch out, he's coming, he's coming, he's coming. Everyone, Nanura did everything she could to save them. But it's time to make a decision. First of all, Yogai tries to take it easy. So she tells this guy that he's only half dead, essentially turning him into a vegetable. Although this was a bit exaggerated, so instead of that he tries to kill parts of the body, but he is still pretty bad, and although he tried to take it very calmly, at this point it seems rather that he is torturing them, so he decides to put an end to it. The kitten realizes that he has gotten into a big problem, so he tries to beg for his life, telling his sad story that he needs to earn money to help his sick brother. But Kayajiri says to him, "You tried to kidnap us and sell us as slaves. I'm not going to be someone compassionate either." Since Kayajiri is willing to put an end to all this, and tells both the cat and the last guy to die. However, this time nothing happened, and they thank heaven for staying alive. But obviously they will not stay for Kayajiri to try again, so they both run away. Donora asks him why he decided to let them go, but he didn't, since his success rate in death is always 100%. So just when the kitten thought she was at a safe distance, she dies as if they had written her name on a deck. Oh yes, and this guy ends up dying too, but nobody really cares anyway. With all the dead enemies, Yogai and Danura begin to move away. However, they are called back by the city guards, who received news of what had happened, so they want to have a little chat with them about what just happened. Yogai tries to escape somehow, and is limited to saying that she has found those guys on the ground. But the guard does not swallow his lips, since he has seen everything, and knows that those guys fell dead suddenly just before they could attack. Donora can't believe that Delgard makes them suspicious after they were the first to be attacked, and if she was watching all the time, why did not do something to help when they were clearly in trouble? Edgar says that he only tried to find out who sold those victims, so they were going to let them kidnap Yogai and Danura, and they would limit themselves to follow them until they found the guy they were looking for. Basically they were using them as bait. He also tells them that the guards have received the protection of the wise, so the gifts they have as candidates to wise do not work with them, so they should come in silence if they do not want problem. However, one of his men uses his evaluation skill in both and discovers that neither of them really has any wisdom skill, so they cannot explain how this event is possible and how Yogai managed to do this. And Aguirre tells them that it is fine, but that as an apology it would be good if he provided them a place to spend the night. And so it will be. So now Yogai and Danura have a luxury pass to stay while Danura admires the beauty of the place. Yogai asks if she wants to share a room with him. Danura finds this a bit embarrassing, so Yogai proposes that their rooms be next to each other. Danura arrives at her room, and is amazed since she admires how luxurious the room is. While jumping on the huge bed she starts to think about Yogai's initial request to share a room with her, and he wonders what kind of perverted things she would have been thinking to ask for something like that. On the other hand, it is literally the first time that he is away from Yogai since they arrived to this world, and without him there to protect her, she would be dead or enslaved a long time ago. So he wonders if Yogai really likes him after all. But I think he had already made it clear that what he wants is her chestnality. While he squeezes his face against a pillow out of shame, he hears a noise coming from the room, and he looks up to meet a ghost floating on his bed. At first he obviously gets scared, but then he realizes that the ghost looks a lot like his sister, but his sister is still alive, and must have done something very bad, because it is actually the guardian spirit of the family, and make it clear that he does not want to have anything to do with Danura's sister again. She is here to help Danura in her moment of need, but she asks him if he wanted to help her. Why didn't he do it when he attacked the dragon? Or why didn't he help her when she was almost sold as a slave twice in the same day? The guardian spirit Moku is an honest woman, because in the face of all the honesty, and confesses that she was scared to death by Yogai, and that really tells her that it's bad because she's already dead. So she says that with the kind of power that Yogai has, if she appears imprudently to him and causes a bad impression, she could be erased from the face of the earth in an instant. So she wants Danura to talk to Yogai about her before she shows herself to him, so that he does not think that it is a threat and be able to be sure. Danura says that he will tell her tomorrow, but then he asks her what kind of help he was going to give Moko. Moko explains that, as he is a spirit, he can protect Danura from almost everything, except physical attacks. In fact, she was the one who prevented the battle song of Sevger from installing in her body in the bus. Denura obviously gets angry, because Moko basically puts her in permanent disadvantage in this world. But Moko does not see the problem, since he thought that Denura would have opposed anyone to put something suspicious inside her body. And the gift of the wise has its advantages, but once you allow it to be installed, basically it has control over you for the rest of your life, so it is not the best compensation. In addition, Moka's goal is to make sure that Denura returns to the land to become the successor of her family's martial arts technique. But although Denura would like to go home, she is forced to depend on Yogai because she is very weak. Next, Denura meets Yogai on the ground floor after not being able to sleep all night, and all this because of Moka's midnight training. She asks Yogai if she is going to meet with the rest of her classmates after this, and it's something he wanted to talk to her about. Both meet with a woman named Celestina, who has been helping Yogai looking for the location of all her classmates and how to get to them from here, in addition to obtaining articles of translation of languages and state hiding. She has also prepared 2 tickets for the two to reach the capital by train, with an hour's departure from noon. Yogai thanks him for all his hard work, and if you were wondering how they have been paying for all the things they have achieved, they still have tons of gold that they stole from the 3 students. Yogai asks Celestina if she can take her surplus gold and do something like put it in investments for them, and she will do it without any problem. They both move to continue their journey to meet the rest of their classmates, and they go to the primitive forest because Celestina thinks they will go there to train. But in the middle of the journey Yogai feels something, and as it came to her sense, Arachnid pushes Denura down to avoid a stab that destroys the whole train wagon. One of those anime fights is happening nearby, and the collateral damage is really high. In another place, one of the wise men of this world receive a report about the situation that happened before, but they still don't know what happened exactly, since the guy who is still alive has not been able to give him an answer. It's about the guy that Yogai told him to die, but they don't know his ability. So they are confused and try to find out the cause. Even after pulling out an eye and using healing magic to grow a new one in his place, he still can't see. The wise woman tries to use her vampiric nature to turn him into one and give him regenerative powers, but it doesn't work either. His experiments are interrupted shortly after when someone erupts through the wall with a sword in his hand, but we'll get to that later. Meanwhile, we return with Yogai and Denura, who are still on the destroyed train. Yogai realizes that they were not the target of attack, but it is still dangerous that they are here. It seems that a wise man is attacking a robot that the inhabitants of this world call attackers. Denura asks Yogai if she can kill them because they are a nuisance, but even if Yogai is rude, she also has rules to follow since she can't go around killing people because they are a nuisance, and those guys didn't intentionally send the explosion to him, so there would be no reason to kill them. But again, the wise man seems to be bad, so Yogai decides to eliminate him. After all, back with the wise vampire, the person who attacked just blew up the whole castle, but thanks to his innate healing ability, he has been able to contain the explosion. She did something terrible to the lover of this guy, but once again no one cares about him. Also, he is immortal, so he doesn't even bother killing him and throws him off the roof. Then he orders this guy to look for Yogai, since he wants to find out how he managed to kill all those thieves. Meanwhile, after Yogai eliminates the wizard, the robot does the most intelligent possible and tries to negotiate things peacefully instead of fighting, but he has nothing that Yogai wants, so in his place Denura gets something. Later that same day, the vampire meets the wise woman to talk about the dead wise man that they just found near the train tracks, and she suspects that Yogai could be behind all this. The wise woman does not care much, but she tells him to do what she thinks is convenient. So the wise vampire calls one of her subordinates and tells her to prepare the zombie army. Back with Yogai and Denura, after a lot of walking, they can finally see the city of Hannibusa, which is very similar to a Japanese city. While Denura is still full of energy, Yogai is absolutely exhausted after the long trip. Denura suggests that Yogai start exercising more often. However, after realizing that it has not been any help in this trip, she apologizes but asks him to warn her when they are in danger so that she does not act so carelessly and naively. Before they leave, Denura asks him if being tired after using his ability means that he has a limit on the number of times it can be used, but no, he does not have time to reuse it, and the developers never patched it. The ability as well as the desire. They enter the city and are amazed by its futuristic appearance, and while they walk their streets they end up with a hotel that Celestina had suggested to them, so they decide to enter and stay a while. While they walk through the interior of the hotel, they meet one of their classmates, Tachibana, who greets them normally as if he had not abandoned them to their fate. Denura asks him why he is here since, as far as they know, they should continue with the rest of the class in the forest. Tachibana responds saying that he separated from the rest of the group because he did not agree with their insignificant methods to gain levels, since Tachibana had in mind something much more beneficial: slavery. As soon as he got here, he found out that slaves still existed, so when they asked him how many he wanted, he basically chose many, and these are the main members of his harem: Erika, Stephanie, Chelsea, Euphemia, and Risa. They are a great variety of girls, but all have something in common for now: they hate Danura. Tachibana tells them to shut up for a while she talks to her companion, and while she does, Yogai tells Danura that she seems very sure of herself, so she must have a strong ability of some kind. They still don't know what her ability is, but it has been like that since they were in high school, since women went to him en masse, so he was always a bit narcissistic and changed girlfriends very often. Tachibana speaks and says that, since they have met here by chance, she asks if Danura would like to become his slave. She is petrified by the absurdity of his statement, but he assures her that it is fine, since if she is worried about what may happen to Yogai, although he does not usually go there, he will also make an exception with Yogai. Neither of them can believe what they are hearing, so they ask him what makes him have so much confidence to make a request like that, and Tachibana reveals that he has the class of dominator, which means that he is able to dominate absolutely any weaker being. That is a pretty powerful skill, but if Tachibana is here, how does he intend to get stronger if everyone else is busy training while he is loafing around here? But that is not a problem for him, since his ability is also broken. He explains that after the class arrived to Sandy City and they were celebrating it, one of his classmates approached him, who spoke of the true nature of his ability. Atori has the consultant class, so he comes to give Tachibana some ideas about what he should do from now on. Right now in class, everyone is avoiding him for his dominating class, and Atori doesn't want to fight between them. Tachibana tells him that the true power behind his ability is a pyramid scheme, since he can go buy a lot of cheap slaves and make them fight for him. Then if the slaves win, he has experience and can make the defeated become his slaves, so his slave network will only grow as time goes by and his gain of experience will be exponential. This is very useful information, but on the menu screen nothing similar appeared, so he wonders how Thor could have found out. So he reveals his ability that allows him to see the hidden details of the ability of anyone. But this still does not answer the question of why he is giving a free consultation like this. As a consultant, his possibilities of becoming a wise man are linked to the success of his companions, so he wants everyone to do their best, so they don't end up like cattle in the guillotine. That basically means that at this precise moment, the number of slaves of Tachibana is increasing and he's gaining levels without doing anything, so he expands the offer again and asks Danura to become his slave, although she still likes to have her freedom. Tachibana agrees to leave and says that he will give time to think about the proposal, so for now it is not a great threat to them. But Yogai points out that in reality it could be safer for Danura if she went with him, since it would be near the top of the pyramid scheme, but it is still not an option. 3 days pass and Yogai has been sleeping all this time, and Danura can't do anything alone because she needs him to be there to lead the team. So far everything has been very quiet, but no more, because the army of zombies has begun to invade the city. But once again, Yogai does not wake up, so Danura invites her to close the curtains and pretend to be crazy. While she is lying in bed, her protective spirit informs her that someone is pointing it, but she is not able to see it. So as she is not made to handle threats at all, Danura picks up the phone to ask Yogai for help. Yogai wakes up when she hears the call for help, so she leaves her room to go save her life again. Upon entering the corridor, she is able to scan and perceive the murderous intent of someone, so she tracks and eliminates the aggressor, who turned out to be Erika. She calls Danura's door to tell him that there was actually someone pointing it, so now they have to discuss their next move. Tachibana was outside in a dungeon when he realizes that Erika's signal has stopped working suddenly, so something must have happened. And on the other hand, Yaguri realizes that Tachibana could return to take revenge since he killed one of his best slaves, so it will be better if they leave soon. Meanwhile, Tachibana just overcame the 100th floor of the dungeon without effort, without problems, and all this thanks to the skills of his servants, which he can use at will. And now that he's done with this, he decides to check the situation with Erika, so he checks her memories and sees that she suddenly collapsed. He doesn't know he killed her, but Euphemia believes that she could have been jealous of Danura and tried to eliminate her, giving place to what they saw happen. Tachibana doesn't care much about Erika, but she wants Danura to become her slave, so she adopts another approach and makes some of her other servants try to prevent Danura from leaving. Because of this, they are cornered by Risa, who uses an ice spell to block the corridor, but that does not stop Yogai, because she can tell the ice to die, and so she does, so Yogai imposes herself on Risa, also killing her wand, and tells her that she can kill anything with just thinking about it, so if she tries something weird she will die. She gets up and tells her that she is a master of the wand, so he can attack without wand. Confesses that he ordered him to capture Danora, but that also means that the other servants received the same mission, and Danora is almost attacked, but finally he put the necessary flow to defend himself, and gets his first elimination. This waifu tries to take advantage of the distraction to get up and use his hidden wand extra, but that counts as something weird, and Yogai was clear about what would happen if he tried. The waifu is eliminated, leaving only the girls and their dolls to attack them, but he only eliminates the dolls. And since Chelsea made the smart decision to betray Tachibana, he had no choice but to use his last resource, his army of cockroaches. They may only be cockroaches, but with so many in the same place, if Tachibana gave the order to attack all at once, they would probably end up killing a human. For example, they could get into your mouth and nose and twist your throat until you died suffocated. Now we see Euphemia telling Tachibana that maybe it's not a good idea to attack someone who claims to be able to kill anyone. But Tachibana does not back down because he is a dominator. So if he does not kill Yogai, he will not feel good about himself. He orders the cockroaches to start their attack, but as soon as the murderous intention reaches Yogai, he is able to scratch it to Tachibana. So Tachibana is eliminated. Now that Tachibana is dead, the cockroaches will no longer attack them, but it is still a room full of cockroaches, so they do not stay there too long. Meanwhile, Stephanie and Euphemia stay with the corpse of Tachibana. So having regained their freedom, Euphemia simply plunges into the surface. However, when leaving the surface, she finds a paramo, where there was a forest before, and a giant dark balloon that just crossed the area. The wise vampire is also there to get information about the situation, so she bites Euphemia and turns her into a vampire to tell her everything that happened. Meanwhile, Danura and Yogai finally get out to the street, but she remembers that of the zombie army that Danura ignored, since yes, it seems that now this is a problem. Back with the vampire saber, after turning Euphemia into a member of her lineage, she asks about Yogai ability, since Euphemia must have seen at least some of what Yogai is capable of doing, so she's going to throw the date. So if her ability is really capable of causing death to any target she wants, then she is curious to see if she can put an end to her immortal life. In the city under siege, people run in a hurry, knowing firsthand what a zombie apocalypse is like, while Yogai and Danura hide in an alley and plan their next move. Zombies are pretty slow, so Yogai thinks they could probably get out of the city if they are careful not to be cornered. Danura asks if he intends to leave the people of the city as things are right now, but he has never set out to be a hero in this world, and made it clear from the beginning that the only thing that matters to him is Danura's chest, so she is the only person he feels inclined to protect. Meanwhile, the mayor of the city is outraged, because the leader of the army of living dead Masayyuki showed up in his city without warning and is ravaging his town without provocation. The wise vampire Lady Lane gave him personal control over this area, so Masayyuki has no right to come here and destroy it. Masayyuki tells Ryota to calm down. After all, they were once comrades and candidates to wise. Both survived together to the same battlefield, or at least Ryota did it since Masayyuki died and revived as an undead. Back to the subject, Ryota tells Masayyuki to take his undead army and leave his city immediately, but Masayyuki has all the permission he needs from Lady Lane herself, so there is nothing or no one who can stop him, since he was literally given permission to eliminate as many people as necessary to find Yogai. Upon learning that he has been under the orders of Lady Lane, Ryota is forced to give up and give the city's key, so that Masayyuki can continue with his plan. He takes control of the speakers placed throughout the city, and orders all the zombies to stop attacking for the moment. Then he gives an ultimatum to the people, and says that he is looking for a boy named Yogai, and a girl named Danura. So the people of the city have an hour to take him, and it does not matter if they fail, they will be the ones who will end up dead anyway. And it has also been ensured that no one can escape by closing the doors of the city, so if people want to survive, they have to get their act together and start hunting teenagers. The mayor is not happy that his citizens are treated like pawns in the game of Masayyuki, but again he can't do anything, because the boss ordered it. The people on the street run like crazy looking for Yaguri and Danura. Danura doesn't even understand why they are being chased to that point, but it's already happened that Yogai killed one of the wise men. That was probably a big problem, since eliminating people impulsively can end up causing them more problems in the future. But just when he says that, 3 people approach him from behind and are willing to end his life to capture him. Yogai launches a warning, saying that he will not hesitate to eliminate anyone who attacks him. This guy does not listen to the warning and attacks anyway. And as expected, now he is sent with Godzito. The 2 guys are cowardly when they see that they easily eliminate their friend, so they run away. Yaguri wonders why Masayyuki would think that the citizens would be of any use to capture him, if it has already been clear that they can eliminate anyone without much difficulty. Masayuki could have been waiting for Yogai Rai to have some kind of moral code against killing civilians or something like that, but Yogai Rai does not have such weaknesses. Even so, he does not like the idea of civilians throwing her like meat marionettes, so he decides that it would be a good idea to go negotiate with Masayuki personally. The two go to the town square to meet Masayuki. Masayuki arrives, and he is quite disappointed that he did not have the opportunity to eliminate more citizens before Yogai Rai surrendered. Masayuki asks him if he plans to sacrifice himself for the good of the citizens of the city, but he has not come to do such a thing. Masayuki does not think that Yogai Rai has much choice in the matter, since he is the one who holds the power here, but Yogai Rai has come to negotiate. He wants to use the train to leave the city, so he would like Masayuki to get rid of the barrier that surrounds the city. Masayuki gets angry and tells Yogai Rai that he is not in a position to ask for favors at this time. In this situation, Yogai Rai gives in and agrees to sweeten the deal by letting him live despite being a bastard. However, Masayuki cannot recognize how lucky he is to receive such a good deal and orders his army of undead to eliminate Yogai Rai. Since he believes that his army should be immune to any kind of death magic, that Yogai Rai simply tells everyone to die, and although I do not know how it is possible, everyone dies again although they were already dead. But this time they die forever. The smile on Masayuki's face fades away when he begins to wish he had accepted Yogai Rai's initial offer. His immortal army has been defeated in an instant, and not wanting to be the next, Ryota raises his hands and sees Masayuki. Masayuki does not even get angry about this. What he wants to know is how it is possible that something that is already dead can be killed again. Actually, it's very simple. You say they're dead, but they're still moving. So Yogai Rai in that aspect considers that they're still alive because they're moving. And if this doesn't make sense to you, it doesn't matter. Because the protagonist is Yogai Rai, and he decides what it means to be dead. Masayuki can't stand what's happening, and starts transforming to be able to fight against Yogai Rai with all his strength. However, Yogai Rai doesn't follow the rules of the typical anime, in which you expect the bad guy to transform. And he just kills him before he can finish transforming. Fuck, that's really gangsta. There is still the problem of having to break down the barrier that surrounds the city, but that shouldn't be a big problem since Ryota seems more than willing to do everything Yogai Rai asks of him. He begs Yogai Rai to spare his life. But anyway, Yogai Rai never had the intention of killing him since he only eliminates in self-defense. Ryota explains that the wise vampire ordered Masayuki to kill Yogai Rai, since the city and its surroundings are controlled by the wise vampire, so as his subordinate, they ordered him to take care of the city. This is a bit confusing for them, since they were called here by a signal to become wise, and now they are being chased by other wise men. Just then the spirit that protects Danao appears, and informs them that a spiritual manipulation has occurred in this area, and suddenly, all the citizens have the intention of eliminating Yogai Rai and Danura, since it turns out that this is a spiritual attack. And it turns out that it was the spiritual attack that is making the citizens act like this, so maybe the barrier could block it. But when Ryo tries to use the key to change the configuration of the barrier, he finds that it has been blocked from the control, which could only mean that the wise vampire has taken control, and who is behind all this? From a great distance, Lane is carrying out his plan, but Euphemia tells him that what he is doing is really risky. Lane already knows that Yogai Rai was able to kill Tachibana at a long distance by tracking his control over the cockroaches, and with a power like that, he is already far above the power of any wise man. Precisely for that, Euphemia believes that they should let him do his thing and move aside. The mentally controlled people begin to attack Yogai Rai one by one, and he is forced to eliminate them continuously while they attack. Something similar had already happened to him before, when a guy tried a lot of things just to see how Yogai Rai reacted to them, but in the end he can always eliminate them all if he wants to. Ryuta is having a really bad time seeing how all his precious citizens fall like flies in front of his eyes. Meanwhile, the wise vampire is still on his own outside the city, and as that monster of the darkness before is approaching, that plays in his favor, since now he can cause the death of Yogai Rai without a direct intention of killing him. He decides that it is a good time to launch his backup plan, and duplicated his body several times in the sky. In the city, darkness has reached within the limits of the city, and is turning in sand everything that comes into contact, and he goes directly to them. At the same time, the wise vampire explains that she created her clones with all the information about Yogai Rai removed from her brain, so without knowing who Yogai Rai is, there should be no way to keep any hostility, and therefore she should not be able to kill them. So she orders the clones to make a Muslim no-jutsu and bomb the city once the darkness dies, since she hopes that Yogai Rai is able to kill her. In the city, people watch horrified as the darkness destroys the architecture and leaves nothing but dust in its path. They think that no one can do anything to stop it. But Yogai could do something if he wanted. He has a bad feeling, but at the same time he can't let that thing kill everyone, so he decides to eliminate it after killing the darkness. The vampire sage's bombing strategy takes effect, so there is more destruction on the city. Yogai can see the attack but does not perceive any hostility, almost as if something was attacking the city indiscriminately. This must be the work of whoever is putting him to the test with the civilians. But while Yogai was doing this intense analysis, Denora reminds him why he is fighting. So he gets up to solve the problem, but it is easier to say than to do it, since he does not know where the attacks come from. Denora raises her sight and sees something that she never expected. The bombs that are hitting the city are literally all the slones of the vampire sage hitting the ground. They realize that this is the countermeasure of the vampire sage against the instant death of Yogai, and she really can't do much about it, since she is not aiming at him and the copies are exploding so fast that he can help. His class of ability is that of Mayor, so he is able to see everything in the city at the same time, and uses the information he has access to find out the next place that will be attacked. Then he teleports them all there, and when the clone is about to hit them, Yogai makes him die. So there was a protective cloak that can be worn under the clothes, but thanks to the guardian spirit, it can turn it into anything, from a shield to an armor. Finally, Denora helped in something. All the clones of the vampire savage have been defeated, and Euphemia tells her that she fucked up, so she decides to go for Yogai. But she says she still doesn't see the problem, since she can create more clones to attack again. At that moment, the vampire savage realizes the instant death, and she says, "Shit, I fucked up." Elsewhere, a girl wakes up from a nap in a coffin, and receives a pre-recorded message from the vampire savage. The message said that she has a copy of her that was made to be his own separate person. This was done to avoid the attacks of Yogai, but we will return to that later. Since Yogai and Denora are about to leave the city now that they have received transport from Ryota. Meanwhile, we can finally see what the other students have been doing. Since we meet Ryuko, from the samurai class. After defeating a monster, he enters his store, where he finds a girl named Carol. Carol stole Ryuko's phone because she wanted to take a look at the application she had to watch over Yogai. Apparently, both had the mission to spy on him on Earth, but when they checked the monitor, they found a creepy news. The first door of Yogai is open. Aidenora has been ordered to drive the Jep, but by the way he drives, they almost die right there. It is clear that he does not know a damn thing to drive, so he wants to change with Yogai, but he is already deeply asleep, so it seems that he is alone in this. As he was not paying attention, Tenora is about to crash into a rock on the road. While Yogai has a wonderful dream with a woman, we are told who this woman is, and she sees her signing a contract for a job interview. It seems a bit worrying that there is a resignation to death, but he is too involved in this to back out, and those bills are not going to be paid alone. So he accepts. He asks if it is a bad organization, but his boss assures him that everything that happens here is legal. Although it seems very convincing, he tells him that this installation investigates curses, so his job will consist of taking care of a monster. They lead her through a chilling red corridor and ask where they are going, so the employer informs him that his task is to take care of a being they have nicknamed Alpha Omega. By the description they give him, Asaka wonders if he could be a human, but the boss doesn't really know, since he has never risked seeing the thing for himself. Alpha Omega has the terrifying ability to kill anything just by thinking about it, so they brought Asaka to be his teacher, since he is quite dangerous in himself. But imagine that a little boy without a sense that maybe he shouldn't kill people for fun has this kind of power. That's where you get in here. But if you're wondering why she was selected for this dangerous job, that's because she's the only one who showed up. They reach the end of the elevator, so the boss gives her a paper and tells her that now it's on her own before leaving it to be fixed with the being. She has no choice but to enter. But they shouldn't blame her if the world is condemned for something she did. She enters a room in which an artificial environment is being generated and goes to the house illustrated on the map. Once there, he shouts to see if there is someone at home and ends up meeting a small child in the central room. Before she was anxious, but now she is enraged by the fact that the government has locked a child in this underground base. He will not stay with his arms crossed, so he drags him out by force and throws him into the stream so that he can play once. Yogai seems stunned for a moment, but then he points with his finger to Asaka and eliminates a monster that was hiding behind her. He doesn't give a concrete answer about what that thing was, but things like that appear from time to time and try to kill him. They probably entered hiding in his shadow, but now he's dead. So there's no reason to worry anymore, and Audrey talks and says that he would love to play, but it's getting too late, so it would be better if he did it tomorrow. Asaka realizes that maybe she has let herself be carried away a little for all the things they said to her, and she apologizes before finally introducing herself to him, But the most important thing is that Yogai tells him that she is hungry and finally realizes that she is the adult in the room, so she has to cook in the kitchen. There is a well-stocked pantry. But all this is useless if you do not know how to cook. However, she has to prepare something before Yogai leaves the bathroom. So she goes to the great classic, a cup of ramen. Luckily for her, Yogai had never tried this before, so she is very happy with her dinner. And while she eats, Asaka thinks of a name for him. In the end, she decides to name him a dog. And that's how she got the name Yogai. From that moment on, she assumed the role of being his mother figure and taking care of him. Yogai has good memories, but wakes up when Danura shouts that the road to the capital is blocked. She is surprised that he can sleep while she drives, but he can't help it, since he is tired of having eliminated all those zombies in the city. Also, he doesn't even understand why they need to go to the capital in the first place after all. His final goal is to return to the original world. With that in mind, they decide to go around and find another way beyond this mountain, but when Danura goes back, he accidentally collides with a dragon that was behind them, so they get off to evaluate the situation, but the dragon that gets very violent and attacks, Ayajiri has no choice but to eliminate him. However, that was not the only dragon, since there were a lot of them, and all are in dangerous mode and ready to make him disappear from the face of the earth with fire. Unfortunately for the dragon, they faced Yogai, so moments later, all were eliminated. They were forced to finish off a whole population of dragon. But if you think about it, this is territory of dragons, so Yogai just stopped to charge a lot of dragons. However, things are not over yet, as soon the golden dragon of the throne appeared. However, the golden dragon does not seem to have intention to eliminate them, so Yogai has no reason to attack him. After a few moments, the dragon says that they can pass, and tries to run away in a hurry so that they do not kill him. As the dragon can speak, Yogai calls him under threat of killing him. And this girl is introduced to us. Danura wonders why the huge dragon became this girl. But do not let the details bother you. Now Yogai asks her an important question: why the dragons attacked him and Danura in the first place. The girl explains that they tried to prove if Yogai was worthy of meeting the swordmaster, but they have no idea who the swordmaster is. The dragon can't believe they came here without the intention of meeting the master, but they just want to get to the capital. So there's no reason to go around now. The dragon begs them to follow him to the master, since his work consisted of bringing promising individuals, so he cannot return with empty hands after having lost an entire army of dragons. The master of the sword is supposedly in equal conditions with a wise man, so Yogai agrees to meet with him, since he could have some clues about how they can return to the original world. They were trapped here anyway, so the dragon promises them that if they accompany him to meet the master of the sword, he will take them personally to the capital. He introduces himself as Attila and guides them to the place where the master of swords is. When they arrive, they find a lot of people around, since they are also here to meet the master of the sword, and have the opportunity to become the next divine king. One of the boys there thinks that he must go against the rules to come here by car, since everyone else has had to walk, but the master of the sword himself says that he has no problem with it. You may think that the master of the sword is a very good guy, but you would be wrong, since the first order of the day after his arrival is that everyone kills each other until there is less than half left. Yogai didn't even want to come, so he asks if he can leave, since he's not going to participate. So well, the master of the sword sets the rule that no one can escape, so the chaos begins when the participants begin to eliminate each other, and when some start aiming at him, Yogai has no choice but to kill him. But this time he doesn't need to, since someone intervenes to protect him and Danura from danger. This guy seems to be quite decent, but he turns too much to the swordmaster. He says that there is no way that the swordmaster wants them to eliminate each other, so it must have been just a test to see if they acted in a dishonorable way just because he said so. However, the man definitely just wanted to see some of them die. Yogai realizes that some mages cast a sinister spell in the background, so he eliminates them. And the good master continues to say that the swordmaster must have killed them for not acting honorably. They also look at a guy who has half his body back, but who is still alive and kicking. So he asks Nura to put that stone with the colors of the rainbow on his hand. She gets scared, but does what he tells her to do. And while she holds the gem, her body returns to how it was before. The swordmaster has already eliminated enough for today, so he tells everyone to stop and follow him, because he's going to continue the test somewhere else. Attila begs Yujiri to go ahead with the test, because if the Gandhi becomes the next divine king, then she will get a promotion and become his assistant. It is not that they have obtained any information yet, so they do not see anything wrong in continuing with the test in the meantime. But this is becoming more annoying than Iobaru would have expected. They follow the swordmaster, and along the way the gentleman who helped them introduces himself as Rick, and this other guy is called Linel, and now that the presentations are out of the way, Iobaru asks what is the problem of becoming the Divine King. Rick explains that the Divine King was a person who sealed the Dark God a long time ago, but even if the Dark God is sealed, it is still a threat since there are many people working to revive it. Meanwhile, in the back, Zenura asks Linel what was that stone that cured him. He explains that it is about excuses that can heal serious wounds and that can also be used for the games of the geishas. He has always had very bad luck since he was born, so he always ended up in terrible situations. And more recently, as he ended up being sacrificed by a strange sect. So he thought he was dead, but then a goddess appeared and repented, giving him gems of forgiveness to compensate for his terrible life. Apart from the wounds, he can also change the gems with random objects. But with his bad luck in the end, he only gets a brush. He has spent most of his crystals on it, but every midnight he receives new ones depending on the bad luck he had that day. The rest of the group disappear in a barrier, and when they follow them they find a huge tower. Attila seems to have stayed behind due to the barrier, so it seems that only those who participated in the test can enter. They enter the tower and head to the top, where the swordmaster shows them the seal created by the last Divine King that retains hundreds of monsters and the Dark God. Zenora can see a girl in the center stabbing herself along with the Dark God. Another participant, Frederica, tries to launch an attack on the Dark God to kill him once and for all, but the barrier slows down time, so the attack can take 100 years to arrive, and for when the attack arrives, the anime is over. The objective of the night selection test is to accumulate 100 points before reaching the ground, and they can't cheat by jumping from the side of the tower. Denuro wonders if Yogai Rai's power would work on the Dark God, even with the delayed time. But it seems that he feels guilty for something. Normally he has the rule of not killing things unless I have a reason to do so. But Yogai Rai felt bad for all the miasma that was in the area, so she wanted to see if she could find the source and get rid of it, which means that she had already killed the Dark Lord in the time bubble. Now that basically they have made this test useless by killing the Dark Lord, Yogai Rai wants to get out of here before someone discovers what they have done. But before they leave, Linden hears his name shouted by the waifu who dragged him to this competition in the first place. She demands that he give her some of his apologies to be able to replenish his mana before the test starts, and he accepts, but he says that the apologies are useless for anyone but him. When he hears this, he gets angry, and after collecting his gem, the team can finally get going. Fortunately, since they were delayed, the people who got ahead have kindly and involuntarily shown all the traps that were placed in the tower. So now his work must be much easier, since they just have to avoid activating the remaining traps. It shouldn't be too difficult, but again, Hyrule has bad luck. This one steps on a magic circle and gets stuck in his chest. Luckily there are still some crystals left, so he is able to recover from the serious damage he just received. And since this keeps happening so often, Donora suggests that he has a single crystal in his hand at all times. Trusting that he is safe, he runs to an unexplored room. And by the sound of the scream, I do not think he's having a good time in there. Rick runs after him and finds a woman named Teresa standing in the middle of the room covered with blood. Rick cannot believe that she did something like that, since it is supposed to be one of the Knights of the Divine King. But this is within what I would normally do, especially because that's how it is supposed to earn points in this tower. In fact, he has decided to try his luck and become also in Divine King, with the added advantage that he can eliminate as many people as he wants. Rick tells the others to get out of here as soon as possible, but Denora tells them that they can't move because there are dozens of cables all over the room. Teresa is impressed that they have managed to realize before they could fall into the trap. But despite all that, that will not save them. Rick gets depressed and tells the others that he will keep Teresa in line while they find a way out of here. However, Teresa has no intention of letting any of them get out of here alive, so he starts hitting Rick with his threads. Without a doubt, he is a strong opponent, and Rick is doing well in keeping up with the pace of his attacks so far. However, Denora can realize that Teresa is still containing herself, so if she gets serious, she may be unable to handle it. However, she will never get to that, since Yogai Rai tells her to die, so Teresa goes immediately to the other life. Now that she is dead, they remember that Linel was with them, and Yogai Rai finds his hand cut on the ground. Pretty bad luck that they cut his hand with a glass. But at least he is still alive. The group descends to the 98th floor of the tower, and they are informed that in this place, it has a safe area, so they can rest while they are here, and there are even rooms prepared for them. Yogai Rai suggests that, since they are in this place that is safe, they can separate and do their own things for a while. Rick agrees to separate, but asks if Yogai Rai and Denura will be fine alone. She says they are fine, and Linel agrees too, since he has run out of excuses for the day, and if he leaves this place without an apology, he can really die this time. As everyone agrees, Rick says he will go ahead, and Lindell gets a room to be able to trench and survive. Yogai Rai asks Denura if he wants to rest for a while, but unfortunately at the moment there is only a room available in the safe area, and you know what this means. Denura gets nervous, and reminds Yogai Rai that her spirit that takes care of her is still here, and could see if something happens. But the spirit that takes care of her says that she looks good in the perspective of a grandson. Yokiri does not waste time and takes off her clothes. But calm down, it's not what it seems, since he just wanted to change and go to sleep. Meanwhile, the apologies have finally arrived, so after dying almost 15 times today, Linei receives his next batch of apologies and also gets a good price for them. He has received 100 apologies and a guaranteed ultra-rare gacha. He is excited and will try his luck to change it for some object immediately, but instead of a weapon or armor of some kind, he gives it to a woman. It is the goddess that brought him to this world, but she is not here to accompany him in his adventures or anything like that. He just wanted to pass to see if he is still alive. He also tells her that he has updated his save point so that now no matter how many times he dies, he will always reappear here. Then he disconnects from the body and disappears. Meanwhile, in the tower control center, this waifu informs the master that there is a problem. According to his calculations, the number of souls that the tower has collected does not match the number of people who have died, but he does not see it as a big problem, since they still have more than enough souls available to execute the barrier. Another reason for concern is that they will also need to replenish their reserves of semi-demons that feed the barrier, with explosions around him. He points out that it is rude to attack someone when you don't even know what he wants. But the boy already knows that he is here to recruit him. Indeed, the girl was asked to be recruited, and they gave her orders to eliminate anyone who refused to join. So she makes sure she has the right person scanning him with her gaze. The guy's name is Satu, and he used his gift to build this colony, and live a peaceful life here. He doesn't want Aoi to spoil it, so he uses his power to attack her with a bunch of tentacles. Unfortunately for him, Aoi brings incorporated hacks, as none of his skills work. Sito pulls out his sword, which has a high luck stat, so his ability can't affect her, but this only means that she has to avoid being hit by Sito's sword and that's it, and she does it effortlessly before grabbing it with a knife tip and cutting her throat. Then he receives a message from his talking knife, that informs him that he has another job to complete, and that he must go to the city of Hannibusa to finish off Yogai Rai. She is angry because she can't even recover her breath, but she sets off to complete the mission. But before she leaves, a face appears that I never thought I would see again. Hanakawa has managed to survive somehow in the forest for a while, and was finally saved by Sito, who welcomed her and let her live. However, now that Aoi has killed him, there is no one left to protect this place, so he desperately wants to go with her. Returning with Yogai Rai and Denora continued to sleep. When her spirit began to call her to wake up, she opened her eyes and found Yogai Rai's face first on her chest. Although it is not that she did it intentionally, as she is still asleep. Also, that was not the reason why his spirit woke her up, but because she is stuck to the wall. She was watching them sleep before when Yogai Rai began to hug Nora while she was sleeping, and thinking that some spicy action was about to happen, she got into the wall to not interrupt anything. But then she was curious to see if they were already doing something, so she tried to take a look, and then this happened. It seems that the tower has a mechanism to capture spirits, so little by little she is absorbed by the wall. Yogai Rai finally wakes up and asks if she can do something to save her, but Denora has already surrendered and thanks the spirit all the time they have spent together. As the wall is suctioning her, Yogai Rai approaches her and locates the mechanism that makes the suction, then makes her die, which for some reason works, so the spirit is glad to have survived, although she has been dead for centuries so to speak, but he keeps wondering what could be the reason that the tower sucks soul. Yogai Rai is not sure, but with everything that has happened, he tells Denura that she will have to make sure to be prepared, because she is going to kill anyone who seems remotely a threat. From this moment on, she already knew that they would have to eliminate the people who try to kill them, and thanks Yogai Rai for always protecting her, and she gets Yogai Rai to be very proud of what she just told her. Much for what you just said. In another place, Aoi approaches Yugi and the others in the tower, but they run into the dragon and Hanakawa thinks they should run away, but she doesn't think it's for that long, and just says, "I don't think such a small dragon can fly." Immediately after the dragon falls to the ground. His ability does not simply cause a force pull, but literally changes the world to be exactly as she thinks it is. In other words, no matter how delirious it is, he's always right. But if his opponent is lucky, he can't use it against him. The dragon is still a threat, but he is beheaded by a great aggressor who collects information from him and goes to the barrier. Aoi decides to follow him, and Hanakawa is dragged to this. Meanwhile, Yogai and Danura continue to make their way through the tower, destroying the challenges. But the creator of the tower gets angry and goes down personally to stop them. He says that the tower was created to maintain the barrier and keep the Dark Lord sealed, is that if they let Danura and the one from the tower out right now, he won't destroy it anymore. But he doesn't feel very reasonable right now. He's about to threaten them. But Yagri won't wait that long, so he eliminates him. They continue through the tower and find two swordsmen fighting in a stadium and a guy called Masaki sitting on a throne that must have had to carry up there. Apparently, the girl who fights against the bunny is half demon. But Yagri does not want to get involved and only asks to let him go through the exit without calling attention. However, Masaki is too stubborn and refuses to let Yogai go without fighting. While the demon girl doesn't care what she does, Masaki calls the rest of his servants to fight and starts explaining what they can do, but none of that is important because a few seconds later Yogai eliminates them all. Masaki also tried to fight, so Yogai also finished him. The demon girl recognizes the power that Yogai must have to be able to kill someone like Masaki so easily, so she asks him to let her join him. The girl introduces herself as Odyssey, a disguised swordswoman who infiltrated the trial of the tower in an attempt to locate her sister, which has recently disappeared. She came here because she had heard that her people were being imprisoned in the tower, so she would like to count on the help of Yogai to cross and locate her sister. However, helping her would mean going against the swordmaster, so she understands that they don't want to do it. Until now, Yogi and Danura have basically been crossing the tower, destroying it little by little. So in any case, they are already declaring themselves enemies of the swordmaster, although they don't want to be one. That's why it seems good to help her, but she tells him that she doesn't trust his ability too much, since he's only helping her look for his sister. She is very grateful for his offer of help, but they have to have some kind of clue about where to look if they are going to start looking for their sister. They do not have much to base themselves on, but for some reason they can feel something underground, so that is the first place to look for her. Just then, Rick joins them, his friend Frederick and Dynal, who surprisingly have managed to get here without dying. Everyone heads to the next room where the Master of the Sword was waiting for them, so seeing that 17 candidates have managed to pass the tests, he is about to proclaim the next Divine King, but before he can do it, it is interrupted, since they have come to give them terrible news. The tower has been silent, almost as if someone had told him to die, so they are having problems to maintain the first barrier, and the second barrier is largely unstable at the moment, so it is not known how long they have before the subjects of the Dark Lord are able to break it. At that very moment, a bright light passes through the tower, and when everyone opens their eyes, they discover that the tower has been completely destroyed just with the first barrier, but the second one still works with great difficulty. The Master of the Sword unravels his sword, while the one responsible for the destruction descends on the old tower. He had thought that destroying the tower would also get rid of the barrier, but it seems that it is kept in different system. But I did not expect it to be so soon. Even so, now that things have come to this, ask the candidates to help you defeat that thing. Otherwise, humanity will be finished. While all this happens, Yogai suggests that you go look underground while everyone is busy with that thing. And Danura asks if he really will not do anything about it, even if he can. But as a wise man once said, I get lost in the part where it is much more convenient to let other people do it in their place. Linnell goes to leave to help and the others and thinks it would be a good idea to leave too, but Rick remains firm without wanting to turn around and run away from the enemy. The same happens with Frederica, so they stay where they are and prepare to fight. Deactivate the barrier that holds the Dark Lord, but the Master of the Sword refuses to give that information so easily. The Dark Angel does not care if he wants to be so stubborn when it comes to providing information. He will simply stay here and eliminate them all one by one until someone wants to tell him what he wants to know. People start to fall like flies while the Dark Angel electrocutes them. Then the group's ninjas tried to stop him by going forward and creating several clones of Shadow. However, the clones did not make any difference since the angel was still able to electrocute everyone to death in an instant before they could do anything. Frederica decides that now is a time to shine, so she charges an impressive burst of power, but although the accumulation was impressive, its reward was not worth it since it was absorbed by the Dark Angel. However, Frederica does not care and only wants them dead, but while she tries to go for another attack against him, the difference in strength between them becomes evident. Frederica goes back to clear enough distance to attack again, but when she does, she realizes that her arm is missing. The arm that is missing is in Luther's hands, who has turned him into caramel when he touches her and proceeds to eat the part of Frederica's body right in front of her. Rick takes control and hits Luther with his sword, which seems to be more effective than magic. But still it is not enough to give him a real challenge. Linnell shouts to put Frederica safe while he can, but just then he receives a notification that he has an ultra-rare object guaranteed available. Right now he decides that there is no better time to try his luck now, so he leaves it in the hands of Lazar, and uses all his apologies to see what he can get, and when the music stops playing, it is the goddess to whom he has been summoned again. He does not think it will be of much help since the last time he only came to see how he was. But now he is going to fight here. The subordinates of Dark Lord against which they are fighting are not even the strongest, so she should be able to handle this quite easily. For a moment they got excited, hoping that the goddess would annihilate the Dark Angel, but imagine their surprise when Dorgame starts to kneel in front of her in her place, and Lutz gets in her because it's been a long time since they've seen each other. It turns out that meeting the goddess was one of the most unfortunate things that could have happened to her, since her final goal when coming here was to destroy all of humanity. Meanwhile, Yuver and the others have been going down the stairs for a long time, but it doesn't seem like they're moving towards their goal. It's almost as if they were trapped in an infinite loop that intends to protect something later. While they are walking, this boy suddenly feels a small amount of magic that belongs to his town. So Danura asks Yogai if he can do something like destroy the mechanism that keeps them trapped in this loop. But he does not think he should mess with the mechanism because it could be really important. But moments later, an inexplicable cut crosses it, undoing the infinite loop. Yogai doesn't know what happened, but since he didn't have to destroy the barrier himself, he doesn't care. However, what that cut has created is still loose. They head to the basement to see if they find Theo's agent. But if we have learned something at this point, it is that the basement always houses the most horrible thing. For example, the remains of the living mud once was known as Theo's agent. They probably turned them into this to be able to drain their magic. But despite the abomination they are witnessing, Theo is glad that his sister is not among those who were forced to suffer this fate. She will take him out of his misery with her sword. And now that they know what happened to the demons that remained here, Danura asks what they are going to do now. Yovari says that they should return to the surface for now, and that they will decide where to go from there, depending on what is happening at that moment. He asks Theo what he wants to do, and now that she has seen what she has just seen, she has voted to kill the sword. Back on the surface, the master of the sword names Rick to be his successor if something happens to him. So even if he does not intend to die here today, if he died, Rick should be able to hold on using the power stored inside the tower. Lionel feels terrible for bringing the goddess here when his goal is to destroy all of humanity. But even if he dies, he takes a risk and asks the goddess why she is doing all this. She had a pretty decent relationship with him, so she explains that a long time ago, his girlfriend disappeared without telling him anything. This is the Dark Lord we have been talking about, and after he disappeared, she sent a lot of messengers around the world to locate him, and discovered that he was sealed here. But it didn't matter who he sent, he was never able to defeat the Master of Swords, so he started to think that if he sent someone as unlucky as Lionel here, his bad luck could spread and make the Swordmaster go down for one. Lionel knew he was unlucky, but he never thought it was so bad that a god would use it as his trump card to destroy humanity. Something completely crazy. To top it off, he uses a magic mirror that could check the state of people who could pose a greater threat to her. But for some reason, it seems that everyone has died for unknown reasons. Things go well for the goddess, so she takes out the core of the barrier and is ready to crush it to finally revive her beloved. Yogai and the others return to the surface just when the goddess is about to break the core of the barrier, and when she does, it crumbles into pieces, allowing time to flow again. However, instead of the beautiful reunion she is waiting for, the Dark Lord falls to the ground, since we remember that Yujiri had already killed him a while ago, and everyone who is watching this is in shock. While everyone is confused, Tewa takes the opportunity to run after the Swordmaster and cut his head to avenge what he did to his people. At the same time, the knife invader stabs the goddess, so that he can gather information while she is in shock. After leaving, he falls to the ground, but although the stabbing was not enough to make him lose his life, he has definitely lost his head after losing his beloved. The rest of the Dark Lord subordinates prepare to take revenge on humans for the death of their lord. And since things are going to get ugly if he doesn't do anything, Yogai tells Teo and Danura to grab him for a second. Then she uses her ability to kill all the Dark Lord subordinates. And if you're wondering why Teo and Danura need to grab him, there's no reason, since she just wanted to try it. After all the subordinates are dead, Danura asks if they should do something with the goddess that is shooting indiscriminately blasts, since she just went crazy, but she does not hold any hostility to Yogai, so he does not see any reason to eliminate her. At the same time, Aoi drags Hanakawa to the old tower while the goddess explodes. He just wants to go home, but she assures him that there is no need to worry, since they will not die for this. She approaches the guys who are taking the lead in the goddess's attack, and asks them if they have seen Yogai Rai around here. Rick knows Yogai Rai, but it's not the best time to look for a friend, since now they are a little busy. Aoi recognizes him and decides to help him finish the battle, to be able to find Yogai Rai first. He scans him and tells him that he has become the new master of the sword, so he should have the necessary power to eliminate the goddess. Rick tries and throws himself to attack her, managing to cross her and finish her. Once this is done, Aoi goes back to find Yogai Rai. Not long after, they spot him in the dust, so he scans him to get an idea of what he's facing. He immediately regrets coming, since the only information he can get is that Yogai Rai is the end of all things in the form of a man. She starts vomiting, so Yogai Rai asks if she's okay, but she's too scared to get closer to him. The excuse is made up that she wants to give him Hanakawa, but Yogai Rai doesn't want to. Without further ado, she leaves so he doesn't kill her, leaving Hanakawa to his fate. After all that's been said and done, there are only a few people left alive. There are many things about which Rick would like to ask, starting with Theo, who cut the head of the swordmaster in the middle of the fight. She says that what he did is justified, so it has nothing to do with him, but even though the swordmaster didn't like him, after his death Rick is now the new swordmaster, so he is involved. Yogai Rai tells Rick to go take a look at the basement, to see what the old swordmaster was doing behind closed doors, and if he still wants to go after you, then Yogai Rai will stand by his side. Rick does not understand what he thinks he can do, because so far he has not seen Yogai Rai fight, but the Divine King scolds him for being ignorant, and informs our misinformed friend that Yogai Rai was the one who eliminated the Dark Lord and all his subordinates. The power he has is incomparable, so Rick understands that if he says that it was justified, then it cannot be discussed. He asks him what they plan to do from now on, and Theo claims that he will continue to look for his sister. Euphemia, Yogai Rai, and Danura remember hearing that name in Hannibusa, so she decides to go there first. Meanwhile, Yogai Rai and Danura will go to the royal capital, so Rick provides them with Rick gives them 2 hangars, which will allow them to enter without problem. With that they go on their next trip, leaving Hanakawa behind again to his luck. The wise woman receives the news that Ao has disappeared after meeting Yogai Rai, who begins to feel curious to know what is really Yogai Rai, so she decides to summon someone who knew him from the earth, summons any scientist and asks him about Yogai Rai. But when the guy finds out that she brought Yogai Rai to this world, he thanks her for saving all the humanity of the earth. Unfortunately, as Yogai Rai has been using his ability here, he activates a red code on the scientist's device, which in turn blows his head off and leaves him more confused than ever about the origins of Yogai Rai. What's going to happen to Yogai Rai? That and many other questions we will solve in the next episode, since we are running out of time. Thanks for watching the video. Leave your like and subscribe if you want the next part, and I also invite you to activate the bell so that you do not miss future videos without more to say. See you in the next bye.